is Business and Economy, designed to update you on the government policies and programs and their impact on the general economy. I am ILE EMEJE. The National Assembly, in their plenary session before proceeding on recess, has passed several bills alongside some amendments, particularly on local content. One of the bills that attracted much interest on local content is a bill seeking the establishment of the Bitumen Development Commission in Nigeria. The Senate said that Nigeria's bitumen deposits, which are in high deposits in the southwestern part of this country, cutting across Ogun, Ondo, and Edo states, within the onshore part of the Dahomey Basin, are the second largest in the world, with estimated reserves ranging from 13 to 42 billion barrels, almost twice Nigeria's reserve. It added that, however, this huge natural endowment is yet to be fully exploited for the maximum benefit of the country, hence the need for the proposed legislation. The bill was read the third time and passed by the Senate on Wednesday before the recess, sequel to the presentation and consideration of a report of the Committee on Solid Minerals Development on the Bitumen Development Commission bill. According to the Senate, the passage of the bill became imperative because, despite the availability of this nature gift in the country, there is no robust and cogent legal and legislative framework in place to fully regulate bitumen development, exploration, and exploitation in the country. It said that the bill is a product of a well-researched effort geared towards enacting legislation that seeks to bring out an effective and efficient institutional blueprint for bitumen regulation in the country. According to them, the passed bill will help to promote research, study, investment, exploration, production, exploitation, development, and utilization of locally produced in Nigeria, as well as develop policies regarding the regulations of bitumen in Nigeria, and it will provide funding for bitumen research activities and for small-scale exploration and production activities directly connected to the utilization of bitumen of Nigeria. In his remarks, President of the Nigeria Senate, Senator Godswill Akpabio, commended the sponsor of the bill and the Senate Committee on Solid Minerals Development for the development-driven initiative. And so, on today's edition of your regular program, Business and Economy, economic analyst Dr. Akintunde Ogunsola will be my guest, joining me after the business news to take a look on the topic captioned Constitutional Amendments on Local Content Bill, whose interest. Stay with us. Addressing participants, including stakeholders and men and officers of the Nigeria Customs Service at the official flagging off of the guide in Abuja, Comptroller General of the Nigeria Customs, Mr. Bashir Adeni Adewale, disclosed that the objective of the book is, among others, to help officers maintain themselves and intentionally ensure good behavioral attributes of integrity in line with efforts for better services while highlighting significant performance.
In 2023, we recorded 70% increase. In 2024, we recorded 92% increase in our revenue. We're making spectacular seizures all over, making Nigeria safer. But most importantly, we're also taking very, very seriously our responsibility in the trade facilitation ecosystem. Nothing gladdens me more than the fact that the whole world is taking note of the advances that we are making, the impact that the initiatives, our trade facilitation initiatives, is making in the system.
While pledging more commitment of the service to the renewed hope agenda of the present administration, the Comptroller General of the Nigeria Customs expressed appreciation to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for identifying and rewarding hard work.
Very recently, we launched a corporate social responsibility program to show Nigerians that we are indeed alive to our responsibilities, especially in the areas where we perform our operations. We therefore decided to identify critical areas of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's social investment agenda, And we identified some key pillars: education, health, creative economy, access to water, and all that. And we made investments in this area to show our responsibility that we do care.
In a goodwill message, some of the special guests expressed optimism that the Bashir Adeni Adewale-led customs is on the right path of economic buoyancy, considering various reforms on trade facilitation and capacity building initiatives.
Apparently, we have leaders who can see, and they made in CG. And the world can also see, they made in the chairman. And like I've had cause to say, it's important to work in such a way that when you're given an appointment, it's not a table. The WCO really didn't have much of a choice.
Earlier, in a welcome address, National Public Relations Officer of the Service, Assistant Comptroller General of the Customs, Mr. Abdullahi Meiwada, acknowledged that the launch is a deliberate effort of the service to solving challenges.
The Reputation Management Guide is a practical framework crafted not only to improve public perception, but to embed a culture of accountability, civility, and professionalism at all levels of the service. It clearly outlines what is expected of us, not just in the field, but also in how we speak, interact, and respond to public, our partners, and to each other.
They further emphasized that the guideline aligns with the World Customs Organization to empowering men and officers of the custom in enhancing a positive image. ILE EMEJE, ASO Television News. Welcome. Economic analyst Dr. Akintunde Ogunsola is my guest and is right here in the studio with me to increase our understanding on local content bill by the National Assembly and its relevance to us as Nigerians. Doctor, you are welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here again.
Right. A major responsibility of the National Assembly is to formulate laws and make amendments, if need be, of existing laws to better the welfare of citizens. Generally speaking, what is your assessment of this 10th Assembly in their performance so far?
Thank you very much. The 10th Assembly is a very unique assembly, just like from the number 10. 10 is, a very unique number. So I think those people that are members of this assembly are very lucky. I think it's divine, arrangement for them to be there. Now, talking about the function of the National Assembly, one of them is lawmaking. The second one also is about oversight function, to oversight on, budgetary allocations has been given to agencies and see how these funds are being utilized. So, but in this aspect, we're talking about performance in terms of lawmaking. Now, currently, the National Assembly is on the process of constitutional amendment, which is a very serious lawmaking process. That one is still ongoing. I think if I will measure their performance on that, they have been trying because in terms of making laws, the legislature is actually given that responsibility, but they cannot on their own just make law totally. They need to revert back to the people, their constituents, for them to get their own inputs into any law that or any bill that is before the National Assembly. And as well, the executive also have a role to play. They have a contribution in terms of any law that is going to be made, because the executive are also with the responsibility of signing this law and enforcing the law. So lawmaking is not just only responsibility of the National Assembly, but all the stakeholders, the citizens, the constituents, the executive, everybody. In fact, the judiciary. Because if you are making a law and the law is against, or maybe there are some sections there against the Constitution, the law already is null and void. So the judiciary also have a role to play in guiding the National Assembly as to whether this law, this bill they're trying to pass is not against the mother of all laws, which is the 1999 Constitution. So in lawmaking is actually a rigorous process, but if I will measure their performance, I will still rate them about 70 to 80%. It's not totally smooth for them. They have their own challenges, but I think they are trying. Just gradually. They are trying to cooperate with the executive to bring reforms and the change that the society and the economy of Nigeria actually needs.
A lot of Nigerians from various constituencies, some constituencies, have expressed concern of some lawmakers not being feasible when it comes to visiting them to also take their opinion back to the National Assembly. How will you react to that?
Oh yes, definitely there will be situations like that. When we have situations like that, the people need to actually speak up. They are not just there. The people are not there just to hold the governors and the presidents to account. They should also hold their representatives, not just the senators, the House of Assembly members, the House of Rep members. They should also hold them to account as to how well they have represented their interests, because they voted them to go and represent their interests. So the man cannot get there and be doing his own personal interest and abandon the interests of those that actually put him in that office. So when such cases happens, probably the constituents feel that this man has not spoken our mind. They can also come up through, different forms. They can protest to his office. They can, invite him for a meeting. In fact, the law also make provision for recall when it gets to the worst, that, okay, they've tried to reach the senator or the rep member and he's unreachable. Yeah. The law also provides for a recall. They can start a recall process recall? To recall. It is in the law.
It is in the law, but as we are all aware, the process is cumbersome.
Yes, it may be cumbersome.
But it is in the law.
It is in the law. Okay. So for it to be in the law, that means it is legal for people to say we want to recall our senator.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, you mentioned that the major functions of the National Assembly is two major functions of lawmaking, regulations, and then oversight functions. Recall that in the previous National Assembly, I think report had it that there was this issue of budget padding and the rest of them. What can you say? Do we have such now, or something was corrected? What can you say on that?
Yeah, you see, the term budget padding means different things to different people. Not only in Nigeria, even outside the country. Talk about other democracies in the world. Yeah. When the executive presents a bill or appropriation bill before the assembly, it means that the executive has presented their own. This is what they want to do. Yeah. Now, the people that are saddled with the responsibility of, making that law, they can also have their own input. The law does not exempt them from it. Just as the executive has given you, make sure you pass it like that. No. The National Assembly people, the lawmakers, can also have their own input and say, you want to do this program, why don't you do it like this? Why don't you do it like this? And then when they tend to do those adjustments, some people call it budget padding. Okay. Whereas this is not padding. This is trying to align the budget in line with various opinions. The executive have their own opinion, the lawmakers have their own opinion, and they need to converge. Reallocating resources and say, okay, this one, you can't do this one now. Why don't you shift this one to another time? Why don't you move this ministry under this one and all that? So they call those adjustment budget padding. Now, another school of thought call budget padding a situation where the lawmakers increase or inflate projects
for the benefit of their pockets,
for the benefit of themselves. They call that one too budget padding. So you see, budget padding means different things to different people, but I believe that the one you are trying to ask me on is the one that they inflate. Because a lot the one that they inflate the figures.
Recall that there was this time that it was if you open the social media, it's budget padding, budget padding, budget padding. As an economist that I am also, I began to wonder, do they really understand what the word budget padding means? Like you said, it means a lot, but the ones that a lot of people magnified is the one that says the amount of money budgeted was over bloated for the benefits of their maybe pockets, if I use that way. So can we just throw more light on what budget padding means? What is the concept of budget padding, so that we can disabuse their mind or enlighten the populace on what budget padding, like you said it's everywhere in the world. So
it means different things to
maybe
different
what
people.
it means to them in developed country or other countries of the world is different from what it means to us as Nigerians. So can you just throw more light? What if
very good.
An ordinary person maybe following us on the program may want to know, okay, what is budget padding?
Now, I'm not a lawyer, but I like looking at things from the aspect of the law.
But you are an economist.
I like looking at things from the aspect of the law, because what is the law? The law is whatever the judge or the court says, you know, is the law. That's what the law is. Now, we have never seen a case, probably people suing the National Assembly to the court for padding a budget. It has always been a rumor. They just, you know, take it to the Ethics and Privileges Committee to adjudge. But we don't have any concrete legal action against budget padding in Nigeria. So now, the way it is, budget padding is just an opinion that is flying out there. That's why I say people perceive it to mean different things. Now, the one that they said the National Assembly inflates the figures for their own personal interest. Nobody has sued anybody to court with evidence that the National Assembly inflated these budgetary provisions, and to the tune of this, or the EFCC pick up somebody. You know, when we have allegation of budget padding, EFCC is supposed to come in because it's a financial crime in that manner, the way they describe it. But we have not seen anybody being prosecuted, being arrested, being, you know, being punished for this type of budget padding. And we've not really seen concrete evidence against somebody and say, the Senate President padded the budget by adding 1 billion to this project. We have never come to that. So it's just about perception of the public. Now, just like I've said, the president, like this year now, the president submitted a budget of about, was it 40-something billion? I mean, trillion. Now, the National Assembly added about 5 trillion to it. By the time they will finish their legislative listing, and then the figure now went up. How did the figure went up? The National Assembly simply put their own opinion on the table as well, that there are some other projects which they also refer to as constituency projects that also needs to be done, that some constituents need to feel, you know, government presence in their own constituent by, you know, doing some projects for them. You know, so is this illegal? That's the question. It is not illegal. Is it illegal?
They will come out to say they have padded the budget with 5 trillion naira.
What the people say is not what the law says. So let us stick to the law, because until it's been tested in the courts, and the courts say National Assembly does not have power to increase the budget that the executive have sent, then we now know that, yes, they have a boundary of not increasing anything. But I don't think any court of law will pass that kind of judgment, because just like I've said, National Assembly, they are the lawmakers. They are the one that also need to bring up their own opinion as to what needs to go into a particular budget, and then it's being passed to law. The executive will send theirs. The National Assembly will also try to bring in their own, you know, inputs into this provision, and that is not illegal. That is not illegal.
Okay, again, on the regulations of the powers of the National Assembly on the MDAs, maybe oversight functions. What can you say about compliance by MDAs in terms of their oversight, living up to expectation as at when in this particular 10th assembly compared to the previous ones?
Now, the problem that they have now, very big problem. We have budgetary problem in Nigeria, and that makes oversight very difficult. So I would not, there's no way for me now to now blame the National Assembly. Now look at the 2024 budget. It has not been implemented because there is no fund to implement it. What are they going to oversight when the budget has not even been implemented? No money. They say no fund to implement 2024 budget. So they decide to be extending the life of this budget even up till December of another complete full year. So what will they go? The oversight function is to go and check that, okay, we allocated 1 billion to you for a project. How have you spent it? Have you gotten the money? And then when they go, they say, this money has not even come. So oversight function is already having a problem. So the problem we need to tackle now is how Nigeria's revenue is going to increase, which I can see that the executive arm of governments are working towards it with this tax reforms bill. How revenue can improve so that this revenue can now be used to finance the budget so that we don't go borrowing all the time. So the oversight function now needs to focus on the borrowings. The monies that they approve for the executive, you know, as for them to borrow from IMF, World Bank and Chinese loan and all that, how are they utilized? They need to carry out serious oversight function, and we have not seen any oversight on those ones. In fact, the monies that were borrowed last year, we've not seen any oversight reports on those projects.
To that because a lot of people, when you say no money, there's no money in the country or the revenue base is low, people will tend to ask this question that you say there's no money and we are borrowing and borrowing and borrowing. What are we borrowing for? What are we borrowing the money for? If there's no money, what have we used it for? What have we invested the money for? That's why I said the oversight function has not given us any report as to the utilization of all the borrowings that the national, because it's the National Assembly that approves this borrowing for the executive. They also have that power, constitutional power, to oversight how these funds are being used. So instead of us listening to the executive telling us that the money that was borrowed is used for capital project, let the oversight, the National Assembly people, let them confirm it to us by giving us their oversight report. We have gone to Ministry of Transport. We have seen the project that they have done. We have gone to Ministry of Power. This is the report of our oversight. They have done it, or they have not done it, or they have spent. We have not seen such reports. So National Assembly are not carrying out their oversight function adequately the way they're supposed to do. Meanwhile, some citizens have expressed disappointment on the National Assembly for passing some bills into an act, especially on the much debated tax reforms, saying it's not the right time for such. What's your opinion? You made reference to it. The tax reform bill and how it's going to help us to improve our revenue base, if not any other thing. What would be your opinion on that?
Well, there is no particular...
The right time for
we cannot say it's not the right time, just blanket open like that. There are some provisions in that bill or in that law now that we can say it is not yet time. Specifically, which is the increase of the VAT. The sharing formula that, you know, was very controversial, was debated, you know, generated a lot of argument and all that. Yes, we have come to agreement that, okay, let us suspend some of these provisions for now. But we cannot say it is not yet time for Nigeria to reform its tax laws, because these tax laws are actually outdated. So it is time, in fact, it's long overdue for us to reform our tax administration in Nigeria, long overdue. But there are some particular provisions that we can say, okay, let us suspend this session, this part. So it is time for us to reform. The laws are outdated as far back as 1959. You know, the Company Income Tax Act was as far back as 2004. We are in 2025. The rates have changed, economic indices have changed. So it is time for us to, in fact, reform is a continuous thing. And that's why we saw that before this Nigerian Tax Administration, this NTA, Nigerian Tax Administration Act came out, we have been using finance bills, Finance Act, to do reforms. So now we are saying, instead of this continuous Finance Act every year, let us reform everything and put it in one compendium of law. So it is time. So but for some, it is not yet time. Can we
now be right to say that the tax reform bill signed by the authorities that it has become an act? Can we say that the government is in the right direction of good governance?
Yes, the government actually, they are in the right direction for good governance. Now, we saw just, we saw a little result. We have not even started implementing. FIRS has generated additional 40% to what they used to generate. We have not started implementing the law. The law is effective from 2026.
Even the Nigerian
and revenue has increased. So I think you have asked me that question before, that what happened? What difference? What actually happened? And I said people have begun to comply, you know, voluntary compliance to the law, because they are already seeing that from 2026 there will be no more hiding place. So they feel that it is better we just start complying now. Let's adjust it. And those things have brought about the increase in revenue generation. Again, on this local content bill, recently the National Assembly, before embarking on their recess, made a lot of amendments, and most relevant is the bill on the local content. To an ordinary man, what is the bill all about? When you say local content, some people may be thinking that we are going to produce rice now, we are going to consume our rice, and also what is it all about now, from the economic point of view? The local content is just two words: local content. The content must be local. Let me just break it down to the layman on the street. Yeah. Now, what the bill seeks to achieve is any contract, any business, any job, any endeavor that is to be done for the government or for the people of Nigeria, it must have an element of local involvement in it. For example, you want to build road. China came from China and they just came with their people and their equipment and they are constructing road. We say no to it. That you cannot come with your people and your equipment and start building road. You must employ our people. You must employ our engineers. In fact, you must have a Nigerian as part of your, as partner to that business. It cannot just be a Chinese affairs all through. Okay. Which is to protect our people. It is to create job for our people, so that all these people will not just be coming into Nigeria and be exploiting us and be taking away all our values. So the content is meant to protect Nigerians, to ensure that even if China is coming, we are going to them to borrow to come and construct airports, come and construct this. They have to employ Nigerians. In fact, they must have Nigerians as business partner, even at the top, not just the labor that they employ Nigeria. Technical partners and technical partners and all that. They must have Nigerians to be part of them. So that's what the local content bill actually seeks to achieve. Of what benefit, apart from maybe giving contracts to maybe for Nigerians to be involved in the implementation of contracts in Nigeria? What other, do you see it as any other serious benefits for us? Oh, what benefits do we derive? Why the local content bill? Now, another benefit is that when these foreigners are coming into the country to carry out this job, when Nigerians are part of it, they will also tend to learn. They will also tend to learn. They will understand the process, how to operate those equipment that are brought from outside the country. And subsequently, you see that Nigerians will be able to do that same endeavor, that same contract, or that same job. We will not need to rely on those foreigners continuously. That's another benefit. But these foreigners, do you think that they are training Nigerians, the technical expertise? Do you think that they are impacting it on Nigerians? That is what this law seems to achieve. Okay. If they are not, the law is now forcing them that they have to. That is if they have not been doing it. The law is now saying that you must have a local content in everything you are doing. So better start training Nigerians so that they will be part of this contract. If not, this contract will not stand. Right. During the plenary, the National Assembly has, through legislation, made provision for local contractors in a contract in order to improve local experience. How desirable is this? Yeah, just ask the question. Yes. More emphasis. Yes, just like what we are saying, it's desirable because these local contractors will be part of it. They will gather technical experience. They will gather, the technical know-how. They will gather the processes and all that. The operation of those equipments, of those techniques that they are using in manufacturing, in developing some of these facilities and amenities we enjoy. Nigerians will be involved in it, and just like I said, it will help us not to continue to rely on them. As Nigerians are involved, they will be learning, and when they are learning, they get to create their own company and also employ Nigeria. So it's a local benefits, we want to help our local people, you know, it will also help to reduce this Japa syndrome that we are also experiencing.
And as beneficial this may look, don't you also see the corruption, the level of corruption in the country as a setback on local contractors, where most contractors, like, let me use the word, making it fast, overnight wealth. Do you also not see this content as being, the setback of this content, not being able to realize it because of corruption?
Well, if you want to bring corruption matter into it, yeah. With this local content bill, I don't think corruption will have serious impact. Now, this is law, and they have to comply. You cannot go and bribe somebody and say, I don't want a Nigerian to be part of this thing, let me give you money so that the Chinese will just finish the work. I can't see how that will work. Because
I listened to one of the senators who complained bitterly on awarding, according to him, when he was a governor of a state in Nigeria, he tried to abide by this law and award contracts worth billions of naira to a local contractor. And according to him, at the end of the day, the contract was not delivered and they have to forcefully revoke the contract. Then on the other side, he said that even the foreign contractors themselves, you award a contract and they will deliver on time, but 3 months after this contract was delivered, you begin to see potholes and other weaknesses on the contract. What do you think the government can do in terms of monitoring and evaluation of these contracts by the foreigners and even local contractors? Very good.
There are two things now. Now, giving the contract to the local contractors. Yes, we know that our local contractors might not have the technical know-how or competence of delivering projects, and some of them struggle to get these big jobs. And then he wanted to say, yes, let a Nigerian do the job, but he was disappointed. Now, that is what this local content bill seeks to achieve. That, okay, even if you say building of an airport, Nigerians are not having the technical know-how compared to the kind of airports we see all around the world. Now you bring those people in, go and call people that build Dubai airports, bring them. As they are coming, the law now is saying that make sure you have a Nigerian that is working with you, so that they will also be understanding how you are doing some of these things. So the law does not say that you must give that job to a Nigerian. You can give the job to foreigners that has the technical expertise, but the law is saying that carry our own people along. Let them be part of the manual labor. Let them be part of driving of truck. Involve them. Don't go and bring your people from your country and come and flood them in Nigeria because you are building airports for us or building roads for us. So we must not give those technical jobs. You can look for smaller jobs that you know that they can do, like marking of a line on the road. Nigerians can do that one. You don't need to go and bring people from abroad to come and mark the road or put street lights on the road. But probably the building of the road, you need a technical expertise. You bring foreigners for that. So I think probably that's where the person actually made a mistake in that award.
Where, let me just ask this question, under probability, where contracts are awarded and they are delivered, but standardization is lagging behind. What institutional framework do you think the government can put in place to ensure that this law becomes feasible?
Now, it's very simple. That's why we have contract agreements. Now, if they want, or whenever they want to award contracts to these companies, they must put a clause in that contract that this road, for example, that we are building will not be completely handed over until after 6 months or after 1 year of usage, that we see that we have tested it, we have seen that everything is okay. You can put such clause so that if anything happens, it's just like giving you warranty. When you go and buy a product, you go and buy a television, they say 1 year warranty. Say this television, if anything happened to this television within 1 year, you are not going to pay anything, we will repair it. We should have such. If we have such provisions or such clauses in the contract, if anything happens to that road, within 1 year, the contractor will come back and fix that place, except maybe until after 2 or 3 years and something happens, then government can begin to do maintenance. So they should have such clause in those kind of contract. That will protect the contractors will not also want to be coming and be fixing bad road within 3 months, because it will cost them more. So it is better for them to do it very well, that it will last, so that they will not be coming back and forth. So such clause will protect against that.
Except otherwise, if not, we have seen over the years where roads will be constructed and just within a space of like 3 or 4 months we begin to.
They didn't have
photos, and nobody has been called to book. I don't know. Do you know of one?
Probably corruption then might have caused that, because if the contractor said, I want to build a good road, 1 billion, and you call the contractor say, no, I'm giving you 200 million, the remaining 800 is my own. Of course, you cannot hold that kind of contractor and say, see the road you built, it is getting bad. You won't be able to do that. So that is where we may be having that kind of problem. Corruption, once corruption enters into it, they will give you shabby job. And because they know that this person has collected the money, you cannot go and call them and say the work is not good. So such kind of cases, that's why. But if you have given them what they say they want, and you have put it in that contract clause that if anything happens to this building, this road, within the next 1 year, you give us a warranty on this contract that after 1 year or after 2 years, if anything happens within this period, you are going to come back and fix it. You will see that they will sit up. They will not want to deliver shabby projects.
Given the, I don't know why I'm so particular about corruption, given the endemic nature of corruption in Nigeria as of today, do you think this bill will be feasible or fully implemented if nothing is done to curb corruption in Nigeria? Yeah,
I believe that it will be fully implemented. It will have the full backing of the law. Actually, it's not as if it's new. This type of bill has been, I think it has been passed before. We have something like this, local content, to protect local contractors. But with the amendments that they have made to it now, the improvement they've made to it, I think corruption will not have serious effect, because if we allow corruption to come in, it is still we, the Nigerians, that will still be losing. So Nigerians should not allow it. Anywhere they see a local a foreign contractor is the person that is doing everything, we should not allow it. We should speak out. We should kick against it to protect ourselves. It's for the benefit of Nigerians, not for the benefit of the foreigners.
I'm also coming to that question because somebody sent a message and said that the whole of this bill or the act, local content bill or act, whose benefit? Is it for the government or the people of Nigeria?
The people of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
And they will say how?
Just like I've said, our engineers need to, not only engineers, businessmen, our professionals, they need to be up and doing so that they can have this technical know-how. That's why we do trainings. Some of them travel abroad for training, some of them train abroad before they come back. They must up their game so that they can show, the technical expertise, so that we can have confidence in things that are made in Nigeria, so that we will not even need to be calling foreigners. So if Nigerians are not upping their game, that's where we will now start doubting and say, are you sure if I give this Nigerian, he will not disappoint? He will go and do fake something and all that. It will not last. So let's go and call Americans to come and do it. But if Nigerians have proven that, if you look at this road, Lagos-Ibadan is built by a Nigerian, you mentioned the Nigerian company, nobody will go and be looking for Julius Berger again to come and build road. We'll go and invite those people because we now believe that our own have the technical competence. But if they are not displaying that technical competence in handling some of these projects, it will make us to continue to look out. But we now have this local content that will now say, even if we want to go out, the person we are bringing must carry our people along.
Okay. Now, many experts, including you now, you are confirming that the local content bill or act is of benefit to Nigerians and it will improve the economy no matter what. However, given the quantum of mineral resources across the country, what is your advice to the government on how to maximize them by way of value addition and convertible use?
Yes, we have actually, at several forums, talked about how governments can look into the Ministry of, mines, for our natural resources, to be fully captured as sources of revenue for the country. As we speak, Ministry of Mines, is not a revenue generating ministry like the Ministry of Petroleum and Gas. Ministry of Mines is supposed to also be added to the level of Ministry of Petroleum and Gas, so that we'll be every year we are only talking about how many barrels of crude oil, how much gas, but we don't really talk about how much of gold we have sold that has brought in reserves for us. We've not talked about how much bitumen did we sell in Nigeria in 2025 that has generated billions of dollars for us. We don't talk about that. So we need to make the agencies, the parastatals under Ministry of Mines to be very active, in monitoring regulations. NNPC is a regulator. Yeah. They are regulators of that sector, of the petroleum upstream, downstream, and all the stream. Yeah. Now, who is the regulator in Nigeria for mineral resources? Are they strong, like the NNPC? So we need to have a strong regulator that will regulate mining activities, that will regulate exploration and exploitation, that will regulate transformation, because we also have a law like that this assembly passed, that if they mine anything in Nigeria, they must at least transform it small before they can take it out. There is a law like that, I can't remember now. It was recently passed. So there must be a regulator, a very strong regulator that will regulate all, not just one now. Not just for bitumen or for, that means we'll have plenty regulators. Yeah. Let's have one strong regulator that will regulate all the mining, all the mineral resources, mining, exploitation of minerals, apart from oil and gas. They'll be monitoring it. Now, just like the data that they release, we know how much of gold we have under our ground. We know how much of uranium we have. So if somebody is, exploring some of these minerals, we should be able to say, okay, they have been able to explore so much, from what we have. This is what we have left. This is what we have generated as revenue from this. It is the regulator that can give us that. So we need a very strong regulator for that sector.
And with a strong regulator for the sector, what should be our expectation? Especially, you have spoken so much on revenue generation, but one problem that we have in Nigeria is the problem of unemployment. How do you think this will impact the youth?
Of course. Once we have a good regulator, now the president has been traveling around the world, trying to woo investors to come into our mining sector, to come and invest. Now, who regulates that investment? Who regulates these investors? Who monitors the activities? We have so many of them mining gold in Zamfara, mining all sorts of things all over the country, but nobody is regulating them, nobody is watching them. In fact, that has led to insecurity in the country. But if we have a very strong regulator that regulates all the mining activities, I think we have, but they are not strong. They issue mining licenses, that's what they do. They collect money for mining licenses, they issue mining licenses, and that's all. Nobody regulates how they are operating, whether they are causing hazard to the environment, and all those things. So the regulator needs to be up and doing. We need a very, very strong, viable mining industry.
All right, we need a viable regulator for the mining industry, and as well as all our mineral resources. That is the opinion of my guest, Dr. Akintunde Ogunsola. So generally speaking, before we go now, what is your advice to Nigerians on the bill for local content?
Yeah, the advice to Nigerians, just like I said, is Nigerians need to up their game in their professionalism. If you are an engineer, make sure that you improve yourself. If you are in the social industry, make sure you improve yourself. If you are in the finance industry, make sure you improve yourself, so that when these foreigners are coming, they will not just say, these people don't even know anything, we can't even partner with them. Please allow us to come with our people, so that this contract. But if Nigerians are, up and doing, they are qualified, well skilled, they will not have any choice than to obey that law. So Nigerians need to continue to improve themselves in training and retraining.
All right. Nigerians need to up their game by training and retraining, so that we'll be able to take up the economy to the next level. And that is how far we can go on today's edition of the program, Business and Economy. The guest we have been speaking with is an economic analyst, Dr. Akintunde Ogunsola. Doctor, we thank you so much for coming on today's edition of the program.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's
all right, pleasure. And to our esteemed audience, we thank you for spending part of your time with us on today's program. I am ILE Emeje saying, enjoy the rest of our programming.